Hi, folks, and welcome to today's SecurityInfoWatch.com's exclusive webinar. Today, we're highlighting advancements in AI powered video surveillance systems. I want to thank our sponsors, Prometheus, OpenEye, and iPro, for bringing this event to you. The security industry is rapidly evolving, with AI powered video surveillance systems leading the charge. These advanced technologies transform traditional security frameworks by delivering unprecedented accuracy, scalability, and efficiency. From real time threat detection to proactive anomaly detection, AI is revolutionizing how organizations safeguard their people, assets, and infrastructure. Our experts today will provide you with actionable insights to optimize your surveillance strategies. We're going to learn how to overcome challenges such as false alarms, data privacy concerns, integration with legacy systems, all while staying ahead in an increasingly complex threat environment. So, some of the points we may hit today are going to be how machine learning minimizes false positives and automates threat detection, strategies for deploying AI solutions alongside existing security systems, addressing privacy concerns and adhering to regulations in AI, how zero trust can be used in a video surveillance AI setting, and the evolution of AI driven video technologies and what we're going to expect in the next 5 years. I'm Steve Lasky. I am the editorial director of Endeavor Business Media Group's security sector, which includes SecurityInfoWatch.com, our Security DNA podcast series, publications Security Business, Security Technology Executive, and Locksmith Ledger. Let's introduce our guest today. Our first part of our tandem is Cassia Hansen, who is the CEO and founder of KF Factor Global Security Advisory. Cassie is a dynamic security leader with over 2 decades of experience in technology and security modernization across physical and cyber, IoT, OT, IT, and advancing AI. As CEO and co-founder of KF Factor, she advises organizations on security modernizations, advanced technology, and business acceleration. When she was at Intel, she led a global security ecosystem development, shaped technology advancement, and go-to-market initiatives for Intel. Her industry impact is recognized through multiple awards, including top 40 security influencers, top 30 influencers with one of our competitive publications, and a 3-time SIA Woman in Security Foreign Power 100 honoree. Cassia actively advances industry standards and diversity through leadership roles in professional organizations, including SIA and As Is. Her partner in crime today, as they do their tandem presentation, will be Gary Hoffner, who is Vice President of PSLA Security. Gary is a veteran security professional with more than 40 years of experience. He spearheads innovation in cyber and physical security, driving PSLA's efforts to unify access control, intrusion detection, video management through a single interface. Gary's vision led to the development of Cyber Covenant and Overarch, tailored solutions protecting small businesses against cyber threats. As a former chairman of PSA Cybersecurity Committee, he shaped industry standards and promoted cybersecurity awareness among security integrators. Gary's dedication to advancing security technology has earned him widespread recognition in the industry. His expertise and leadership continues to drive PSLA's commitment to simplifying complex security systems and safeguarding clients' digital assets in our increasingly challenging cyber landscape. And our sponsor speaker today will be Rick Gross, who is the president and CEO of the Prometheus Security Group. Rick brings over 4 decades of security industry expertise as a visionary entrepreneur and investment co-founder. From his tenure as a former Army Special Forces operator to leadership roles in printed circuit board industry, Rick's journey has culminated in his pivotal role as co-founder and president of Vindicator Technologies, where he made history by becoming the first commercial off-the-shelf provider to achieve PL1N C2 certification by the government, and leading to its acquisition in 2004 by Honeywell. In 2017, Rick co-founded LDIA, orchestrating the acquisition of the Prometheus Group and spearheading a dynamic corporate turnaround. Its remarkable trajectory includes securing numerous government and agency contracts with DOE, DOD, and other agencies in the government. Under Rick's guidance, PSG has acquired Lynx, which was formerly with Diebold, in 2021, bolstering its capabilities with PL1N Total Command and Control 2 solutions. So, without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Cassia and Gary. Please take it away and begin our discussion.
Okay, right. Fantastic. Yeah, so we are very happy to join today. Thank you, Steve and team, for inviting us. This is a really great topic, so we'll go ahead and just jump right into it. My partner in crime, literally, and partner in life, Gary Hoffner. A lot of what we're going to talk about today is things we talk about at the dinner table, by the way. So, we're giving you an insight into the conversations between Cassia and Gary, and they're really important conversations. My experience having come from the technology world in Silicon Valley for many, many years, and then jumping into security. And then Gary's been in security for a very long time as an integrator and physical and cybersecurity leader. So I'm always get really excited to have those conversations. And so this is a little bit of what we talk about on a day-to-day, right, Gary?
Oh yeah, AI is such a relevant topic. I mean, you can't watch TV without seeing an ad about AI. Microsoft Copilot or HP or IBM presenting their thoughts, or seeing something that's been created with AI. So it's crazy. In fact, this morning I woke up and told Cassie, it's like, I had this dream last night. I had this dream. It was about somebody walking into a medical center and the camera's detecting that person and seeing the size of their knuckles and deciding that, okay, well, they're seeing Dr. Smith here, that based on their age and the temperature outside and the size of their knuckles, that they should really see somebody about their arthritis as well. And they would make the recommendation through a text message to them. That's probably already available. It's probably already in use somewhere. But these are the types of things that we talk about all the time.
Yeah, and I think we all know about AI, right? It's permeating every industry. There isn't a day that we go by that you don't hear about AI, either the positive aspects or the negative aspects. But I think there's a balance with AI. There's going to be some really great innovations that come from it. Already has. To Gary's point, yes, there probably already is something that can do that. It's a matter of being able to run that, work that in with like legacy infrastructure, things like that. But I think AI is very exciting, but it's also still a very vulnerable technology, and one that you have to be very aware of and stay vigilant when using it, when deploying it, and so forth. And I think its impact on physical security, we're just starting to scratch the surface, in my opinion. I think we have some stats up here that we pulled on market size. There's a lot of different growth numbers that you'll see around AI. But I think the most important thing is, most businesses and or customers, so let's take an integrator perspective. Integrator customers are probably looking at AI. Their customers are looking at AI, no matter what industry they're in. How do I use it? What do I do? So we'll get into that, a couple sides of AI and where you can use it. But Gary, I mean, are you already starting to see it impact your business on the integrator side? And, what are your customers saying to you?
Yeah, they're, well, the customers is fine. Practitioners, manufacturers, even, I mean, they have this kind of myopic view of AI. They know what they know, and they talk about what they can promote, or from a practitioner side, they talk about, well, maybe something they've heard about or something they've seen, but there's so much more to this story. There's so much more ability to do so much more with it. And I think we're going to be talking about a lot of that today. But one thing I wanted to
Yeah.
add is responsibility, responsible deployment of AI. Cassie alluded to it, and the most important thing we can do as an industry is be responsible
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
in the process.
I think there's new actions that'll come from it for the industry, things that you have to think about, right? I was talking to a practitioner, earlier in the year, and he was saying every camera he has to deploy in his large enterprise, he has to go through a privacy policy and checklist and make sure that the privacy teams are approving using those cameras. So and that's just one element that's built into AI, right? Around privacy and changing how practitioners need to look at their overall security organization and environment. So it's exciting. Um, I think too, as we move on, we'll keep this kind of simple here. I mean, I think most of us are hearing about the advancements, right? It's threat detection, anomaly detection, accuracy, actionable insights, and I think we're hearing about them daily. I think bringing those actionable insights, and we'll talk about this a little bit relative to verticals. But if you think about, video surveillance, for example, that workload is very, very powerful. I used to, say in my previous role at Intel, video was the number one workload at the edge, right? It's very powerful that data that you're pulling is usable, and I think we're at this time where AI is sort of forcing us to think about how do I use those insights to really expand the value as well as protection, right? You set your protection foundation, but how are you now going to add value to it? And I think this will continue to move because, we'll talk about this in a little bit, but, the bad guys, the bad actors are using AI as well. And so we've got to keep pace with, yes, AI is a great technology. There's a lot of advancements. Eventually, I think some people say it will become autonomous for security operations, for example. I think we got to get to semi-autonomous first. But I think it's an exciting time, and I think one that helping bring new ideas forward. But I wonder, Gary, is the industry ready for it? Is the from your perspective, you've been in the industry a long time, so do you feel like the industry is ready for this?
Well, that's a great question, Cassie. I think some are and some are not. It really depends on the practitioner. Gosh, their standards, their restrictions. There's so many things that go into this, right? Um, but I think in general the advancements, in AI. I mean, yeah, naturally the evolutionary curve steepens as AI gets better, right? So just like everything else, we expect AI to cure diseases much faster than ever before. The same
Yeah.
the same is true with security. The more accurate that we get more accurate exceptions created, more accurate actionable responses more quickly because of it. I think if you look at just that statement and say, okay, if we could have AI do so much more for us, so much more accurately, and we can do it quickly and we can take action very quickly because of it, then I think the adoption is there. Some organizations may be a little bit slower on the uptake or want to stick their toe in that water, but those outcomes are going to drive more requirements.
Yeah, and I think this might be controversial, but I think some of this innovation for AI will come from outside the industry.
Oh,
I think it will come from kind of bottoms up from companies that are innovating around AI, and then it will come from the outside. And now's the time, like we've talked about. Gary and I have a lot of conversations about video analytics and advanced video analytics, and identifying new use cases. I mean, video analytics was really born out of computer vision, right? They go hand in hand, And, I think that's where the video physical security industry is really primed to take advantage of this. I mean, if you think about using AI for physical security, right? It's learning from the data, right? You're pulling all this data, and today you're not doing anything with it. I think that's the first question people should ask, right? Whether you're an integrator or a practitioner, like, what are you doing with the data? And what can you do with the data, and then reasoning based on data, right? Monitoring those live feeds, but then kind of helping you reason, and doing that kind of proactive detection, or contextual based feedback. And then, of course, self-correcting, right? Learns from the mistakes, and it's constantly adjusting those algorithms. And I think this is where the physical security, should they, decide to accept the task and the challenge, is prime for it. And I think you and I have talked about advanced analytics and the use of them. I think they're, some level of being used in the physical security world, but not broadly. I think sometimes they just kind of take what's in the camera, but then you get customers that need some advanced capabilities that are going to help their business. I mean, are you seeing that in your business, Gary? Like,
Yeah.
I know we've talked about some long time ago,
Yeah.
like parking lot,
Yeah.
transportation use cases and things.
Still some of my favorite use cases. In fact, I'll share a little story on that. But to your point, that self correction equals considerably more accuracy in the AI. And I think that you know the enthusiasm for AI is tempered by a lot of practitioners because of accuracy, and they're looking for it. They need to make decisions based on true factual data, right? And that everything we do in the security world has a tremendous amount of gravity, uh, and the outcome can be very good or very bad depending on the accuracy of the data. So I think it's critical that you know there's a natural temperament to take on new and exciting um, technologies,
Yeah.
and AI is here to stay. There's no doubt about it. But I think the adoption is tempered because of that. One of my favorite, this goes back actually about 3 years ago. My favorite design that we put together for AI was for a parking lot in San Diego, in a very densely populated beach community. And the parking lot owner was complaining that because of the parking crisis there's no place to park. That people were parking in his parking lot and not going inside the stores that the parking lot serves, but going across the street to other. So he wanted to find a way to augment his security guards' efforts of trying to identify cars that have been there for longer than 60 minutes and were not shopping in the stores that his parking lot served. So I actually had an analytic written for that application. And it was amazing that we could detect a car coming in from one of five entrances, see where it parked, acknowledge that the patrons or people in that car did not go into one of the stores, and then start a clock running so that in 60 minutes, security can go tag the car and have it towed. So parking poaching is what he called it. Anyways, that was
Yeah.
it was a brilliant application for AI to solve. Very effective. Think about If you think about the accuracy of let's talk video, right? Because video can be a tremendous insight for a lot of actions that are carried out in integration to audio, intrusion detection, and access control. And the greater their accuracy, the greater the confidence you can have to deploy those schemes, right, and those interactions. So, the better it gets, the more
Yeah.
exciting it's going to be. I guarantee it.
Yeah. And I think, we've talked about that use case, right? Develop that, that was over dinner as well. Our dinner table is, open to all. You can be part of these conversations, but I think we need to start a dinner conversation podcast, Gary, with Steve Lasky, Security InfoWatch. But I think, I've talked about this for years around verticals and use cases, and I like to call it a growth story, right? I mean, we look at the role of a security practitioner or an integrator, and the reality is the business is changing, and I think first step is acceptance, and second step, you're right, there are things in the business that are moving very, very rapidly, unlike anything before, right, in security. And now's the time to really capitalize on how are you delivering services. And, for example, I say it's kind of like a circle, right? You have the manufacturers, we need them innovating, not just re-releasing products, but innovating, so that integrators can then go have conversations with their customers on how to leverage those new innovations. And then, of course, bringing those to end users, bringing them new use cases, right? So we've included some here, healthcare, retail, urban areas and cities. But bringing new use cases like, hey, have you thought about using your cameras for looking at movement that's going to help you with crowd movement, or retail environments, especially we heard about a lot about that over the pandemic, right? But helping with shopping experiences, venues, right? How are they tracking crowds? I think there's a lot of new use cases that can be leveraged if you just have the conversation with your customer to say, what, Mr. Security Practitioner, you have all these cameras, you have this environment, but let's take a look and talk about outside of your organization, of your overall business. And what are the strategies and the objectives of your business? And then how is security, becoming a player in return on security, but also bringing new use cases and value to the business overall. And I think that's a huge opportunity for integrators, practitioners, for manufacturers. I mean, I think you've seen that too, right? We've talked
Yeah.
about one of the customers that you have and some of the use cases, right?
Yeah. So it's funny. I like the innovation in a vacuum is not very innovative. If a manufacturer is talking about what they have to offer based on what their analytic toolbox looks like, and an integrator is talking about, okay, I've got these three manufacturers where I represent a camera, BMS, and maybe some audio, and I have these analytics to play with to offer my customers. And the customer is a practitioner that is not very conversant with AI, and he's going to rely
Mm-hmm.
on the trust that he has in his integrator to guide
Yeah,
him, right? Or whatever else he's learned through, organizations. So how do you do it, right? Uh, so the integrator is in a very unique position to really drive a lot of these solutions, to build the outcomes based on problems. And I think it's going to be the integration companies that partner with the right manufacturers. There's a proliferation of AI coming into the market from a lot of different directions. And I think if you know how to tap into those channels and bring them into part of your team, and then have the ability to talk to your customers about what the potentials are, and to glean from them, really pull from the practitioners what their problems are. I mean, we ideate all the time with customers about physical security. Oh, we need to put a motion there, a camera over here, we need to put up turnstiles here to resolve problems. What about introducing analytics, um, so that we can talk about, well, what would you really want to do in a perfect world? How would you want this to be automated?
right.
These are the kind of conversations that have put us in a very unique position at PSLA, and it's definitely an advantage.
Yeah, yeah. And I think having those conversations with your customers, right? Developing strategies beyond security. I mean, we've heard for years, companies in the industry talk about, oh, we want to grow beyond security. And it is a real thing, right? There are real true opportunities to bring new value using AI, using innovative approaches that may or may not be within the industry, but that solve business problems. I mean, what you always hear people say is, and I completely agree, is focus on the outcomes, and the business impact, And there really are, even if it's just one. I mean, one of the ones that Gary and I worked on together when I was at Intel was, a distribution center for a retail manufacturer, right? And they had some business issues that they were experiencing, and we came in and thought, well, wow, we can use your cameras to solve some of these problems. QA, health and safety, that they really weren't looking at. They wanted it. I mean, they desired to solve those business problems, but by bringing forth some solutions for them, they're now going to be able to improve some of their processes, their movements, with health and safety of employees and so forth. And that just took a conversation, right? It just took like, what other business problems are you running into that we can help solve with cameras? I mean, they're just truly a powerful source. And I'm excited to get that one moving and going forward and talk about that publicly, because I think it will help set the stage for others to create solutions like that.
Yeah, this AI has really given us the opportunity from a integrator perspective to really just look at not just the security application of the apparatus we deploy, but how can it
Yeah.
reach into operational technologies, right? And kind of augment what they're doing, or maybe
Yeah.
provide analysis of how that, so
Yeah.
that we can use some of the video analytics to really drive solutions to help them be more efficient. And it's not that difficult to have that conversation, right?
There's a level of education too, I think, that that is involved in that. I think there's also, I know there's a question in here around measuring the return on investment of security, for example, of AI driven, video surveillance. I think um, organizations, will be able to look at what are you kind of break it down into what are your core capabilities that you need to have, uptime, you can measure, like response times, or number of detections, incidents that you've been able to resolve. Those are kind of KPIs and measurements you can put in place. But then you also flip that to the other side of the coin, which is, what is the business value you're providing to the organization?
Right.
And that can be through these use cases, right, for your particular vertical, right?
Oh
um,
yeah.
and
Yeah,
how are you doing that, right?
yeah. And it can make your security apparatus so much more valuable, right? So that means that even the budget for your security apparatus can spread across other divisions of the company rather than just
Right.
security and safety. So it's good to look at it that way.
Yeah, and we're seeing that too, right? I mean, retail. I was on a call with a group of retailers last year, and it was security practitioners in retail, loss prevention environment, and they were saying, "Hey, my marketing guys are off making their own decisions about what they want to do," and I said, "Well, how can we bring those together so you can have a seat at the table and be part of that conversation?" And by helping each other bring those, I mean, it's not in us or in them, right? It's really, how do we collectively enable those solutions? It might take some learning, education. Yeah, conferences can be helpful. It's podcasts, webinars, but reading up on what it can do for a particular area, and that way, the business will look and say, "Wow, you're providing true value, and let's have you have a seat at the table because this is important." Um, and I think, over time we'll see this start to get put into action. I really do. I see it in many verticals that I advise in, and I think over time we'll see it. But the first step is, again, accepting that challenge in the
Yeah.
industry, and not being afraid of it, right?
To not have fear, you have to have faith and trust.
Faith,
So
yeah,
so
yeah,
that faith
yeah,
takes time to develop, and it regard, if you're not writing the code yourself, which most of us are not, then
yeah,
it's all about trusting the partners you have.
yeah. And I think, I think it, it's AI is moving very, very fast. New names, capabilities, you're hearing in the news about AI. and being able to keep up with that technology, I think um, is going to be an opportunity for the industry. I mean, organizations will start to look at what are their AI strategies and policies, processes, how are they training employees around AI and video surveillance, capabilities, as well as access control. We're focused a lot on physical here, but like access control, is included in that. And I think over time, organizations will have to set up their own policies and procedures and around the use of AI, and then what does their roadmap look like? That's going to be really, really important because if you're, let's say, a practitioner and you don't have a roadmap developed, that one, I think, my personal opinion, I've talked to Gary about this, is, I think practitioners and integrators should have two roadmaps. One is kind of your core business roadmap of technologies that you're using, tried and true, it works. Your vendors are delivering capabilities. You're starting to understand what their AI, products are and solutions are going to be able to deliver for you. But then you also have an incubation roadmap. I highly recommend that. I've seen many, many practitioners have kind of incubation teams, right, where they are bringing in and testing out new technologies. I know there's
Right.
plenty that do it. I know there's plenty that don't, but even integrators having
Oh
small
yeah.
incubation capabilities will help as because then you can be more nimble to emerging threats, or being able to take in quickly new advancements, right, Gary?
Yeah, oh yeah. We have a lab in our facility we built about 4 years ago, and it has been so invaluable. Cash, I want to remind you, we only have about 10 minutes left, so we need to get on with it. So,
I know. And see again, these are long dinners. This is the dinner conversation. No, but I think as we start to wrap here, we'll address a couple things. AI. We talk about AI, but there are different types of AI, right? There, are large language models that are being developed. We try to keep it simple here about some of the capabilities in AI that you're probably hearing about, AI driven analytics. We're talking about that today. Eventually, it does become mainstream. One I'm very excited about, by the way, is agentic AI. We're going to hear a lot about it this year. I think there's two sides of a coin, right? There's AI that's going to help you with your physical security, AI-based physical security and delivering insights and protection and so forth. But then on the flip side is agentic AI, I believe, will help in terms of business process,
oh
security
yeah.
operations. It's really, really exciting. And if you haven't read up on, what agentic AI is, leveraging retrieval augmented generation, or RAG, take a look. It's really exciting. I'm doing something with it today with a company, an AI company, and I just, I think this is going to change the way, for example, manufacturers deliver their product information to an integrator like Gary, for example, right? Being able to have that information at the tip of your fingertips, so someone like PSLA can then respond to more RFPs, and they'll have that product information that's more accurate, right?
Oh yeah.
It's not going to ChatGPT. Agentic AI with RAG is much more accurate than if you were just to go to, let's say, ChatGPT and ask it a
Oh yeah.
question,
Yeah.
right? It's
I mean,
very, very different.
if we can parse an RFP and create bombs, use cases, a schedule of work, pricing models, and mandates, all specific to the RFP in a fraction of the time that it normally takes us, can you imagine doing
Yep.
10 times the number of RFP quotes without the need to
Yeah.
have add qualified staff? I mean, that is just value, value, value.
Yeah.
And then we also look
It's
at, I'm sorry, Kathy, go ahead.
Oh
I'm,
no,
I'm
go ahead.
excited about this. Kathy introduced it to me a while back, and it's like, oh my God, there's so many use cases for it. So, but even an integrator like our company, if our technicians were using Genic AI to quickly determine the best configuration attributes for like a certain camera model located in a specific environment, looking for an activity in a particular scene connected to a
Right.
specific ECS integrated with IDS, to look for a specific outcome. I mean, that could take and condense a project that might take 6 hours down to minutes. and
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
just spectacular.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll be talking a lot more about agentic AI for sure. And then I think multimodal AI, is really taking in information from different sources, right?
Mhm.
That is being used today, but I think that will create some more intuitive interactions
Oh yeah.
and also kind of some level of scene intelligence in there. But the exciting one is visual language models. And, if you haven't heard of them, take a look, get yourself educated on where those are going. My friend in the industry, Jumby at NVIDIA, and I were having a chat about 2 weeks ago on visual language models. And it's a really exciting space and one that I think is emerging that will be super powerful for the industry, being able to use visual language models to do all sorts of things that AI driven analytics did. And some say it will replace video analytics overall. So you'll be able to dictate what you look at using your cameras, right? And it's going to be an exciting space. It's one to watch for sure. And it's not there today, but it is one that I think is something to keep an eye on. So that's why I have it last on the list.
Yeah.
So
Some say that's going to transform our industry within 5 years, and you know what? I wouldn't doubt if it does.
yeah,
Multimodal also, Cassia touched on multimodal AI, and I see it as that as system integration on steroids. I mean, think of getting AI from the intrusion access, the VMS, cyber, audio, and then environmental, and
yep,
all working in concert together to glean insights and develop outcomes. Um,
absolutely.
that is exciting.
Yeah, I think so. The exciting one, I know this, we have lots of conversations about cyber physical protection constantly. This is something that I don't think a day goes by that we don't talk about this. And, you know, the state of the cybersecurity industry and where things are at, and then why the physical security industry needs to be, taken as seriously, be proactive, and have comprehensive strategies. I know were led this PSA cybersecurity committee.
Mhm.
I'd love to hear from you. I mean, I credentials are the number one reason hackers can get in, according to CrowdStrike. I think that's still an issue, and Steve early on mentioned zero trust in physical security.
Mhm.
But I'd love to hear your thoughts here because especially around deep fakes, right? I think that's going to be a huge issue, and so protecting the environment is going to be really, really important so that
All right.
the
Well,
video feeds aren't taken and used in a nefarious way. So what do you think,
just
Gary? What's your
think about it like this: more IoT, more AI, more data equals more threat surface, more exposure, and you need more controls. That's all there is to it. To Rick Gross's point, his services and technologies are ideal for this environment. Um, that we've been evangelizing about this to our colleagues, in, I don't know, in the physical security space for about 6 years. And there's a handful of things that you must do, but you know what? If you're gonna promote a if you're gonna promote cyber hygiene, then you have to have cyber hygiene. You can't have cyber hygiene unless you've got a cyber program running in your company. It's got to be a top-down environment, right? So the entire culture has to change, and an integrator's environment to really talk cyber. And you got
yeah,
to properly protect your deployment. It's all about education and guiding immature practitioners and customers on how they protect their deployment and their systems. And you got to secure your own environment. I mean, you're rich with customer data. You've got all this customer data, and like it or not, your company as an integrator, you're a gateway to cyber criminals, and you're a gateway to these big companies that you serve. So you've got to protect
yeah,
your own environment. So,
yeah,
and
yeah,
you know what, Cassia, what's really funny, and it's not funny. I should use the word funny. Um, as 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 an integrator, we sign service level agreements, master agreements every day. We even sign NDAs that have language in them that say how we're going to protect the customer's data. signing an NDA, not even making a dime off a potential customer yet, but I'm agreeing that I'm going to protect their data in the same way they do. How can I make
Yeah.
that statement? How can I make that? Am I even insured to get that? Can I afford to have a breach on a customer that I don't even have a master contract with?
And I think, I had somebody in an event say to me, like, we've just been talking about cyber forever. I said, of course we have, and we need to keep talking about it, and we need to keep bringing solutions to the table. I don't think there's one silver bullet in terms of best practices and how you protect yourself. But deep fakes, I think we'll talk a lot more about this year, because I do think the video industry and physical security industry will be impacted by it, right? Because of the amount of
Oh,
video feeds and data. And then that leads to all sorts of questions about privacy. And so my recommendation here is, being part of the solution to avoid, I mean, deep fakes are doubling in size every 6 months, the number of them,
yeah,
right? I have some details on here. And I think the other piece too, if you look at some of the data points, 95% of cybersecurity breaches are caused by human error. So there's a level of training, education. There's a lot of resources out there, even if you're a smaller business or a smaller integrator. What can you offer in terms of services to your customers, and or just being a partner with them to make sure that their video data is being protected, right? So
yeah,
security and encryption, access control, authentication, network security, AI powered detection, looking at threats and neutralizing those
yep,
deep fakes in real
yep.
time, data retention and minimization, employee training. I mean, those are things that are, I think, will become standard over time, especially
Yeah.
in the physical space.
It's back to that responsibility statement I made early on in this conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, part of being responsible is protecting your customer and yourself. Period. So
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't think the industry needs to be alone in this, right? Sometimes it could feel like you're on an island. You're like, well, what do I do? How do I do? I mean, start with, I think, policies, procedures. What are you trying to protect? What is your role in it, and what is your solution and position in that, or position and response to the solution? Be part of the solution, not part of the problem, right? Which seems pretty straightforward, but given the amount of change and in the technology environment, especially in physical, it can be challenging. But there's a lot of
yeah,
resources that can help you. You know.
we're on this trend to adopt more AI. And it's going to happen. So if you're
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
adopt more
yeah.
AI, then either as a practitioner or a provider of the AI, you've got to improve your cybersecurity game. Period.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's essential.
No, I was going to say most, where you look at cyber incidents or breaches, in some cases it started as a physical threat and then moved to a cyber threat, and or vice versa. So that's what we're seeing if you see the threats. And so it's not to, you know, we've got to keep having the conversation, right?
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
um,
Yeah.
so I think we're gonna wrap it up. We wanted to just quickly, there are integration considerations and challenges. This will be made available. I'm happy to chat on this, with anybody that wants to talk or send me a note following the presentation. I think there's a lot of considerations as you look at AI and how you integrate it in. The investments, how does that help you overall? Is it secure? The privacy and compliance strategies are really important. Understanding in your state or country, what are the privacy laws, and how do you comply with those? And then, the education is going to be really important. Growing team knowledge. It starts with people, right? It really does start with people, and then you go from there. And then I see increased, IT and security collaboration, and there are challenges, right? New technology changes are not without challenges, and we have them on the screen here. A lot of these are very well known. So,
Yeah.
and
Challenges create opportunities. I
yeah,
mean, that's all there is
yeah,
to it. So,
yeah,
we talk about legacy equipment. I mean, it's got outdated or extinct firmware. It's inability to process. It's inability to
yes,
harden. There's no supply
Yes.
chain assurance. You know, that
Yep.
equipment needs to be replaced, and that's an
Yeah.
opportunity.
And I think we'll wrap up and hand it over to Rick here. The ethics and compliance piece is really important, right? It's not just words. Privacy protection, the transparency and accountability, the data security. Complying with your local regulations, and then the ethical use, right? Not creating bias for a certain um, segment of society, for example. Being able to ask basic questions around that. There's a lot of resources out there that can help you define your privacy and responsible AI usage. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm moving this fast so we can give Rick his time here. The future, we've kind of run through it, but this just it tells you what's on our mind. The only thing I missed in here was access control. I think that's an space that I think we'll see over time evolve for sure. But this is what we're seeing, and I think the future will continue to evolve into some of these. So, Gary, I don't know if you want to add, and then we can hand it over to Rick.
No, no, I just think so. You said a lot. I think just be responsible, but take risks, take action.
We'll go ahead and hand it over to Rick.
Well, great. Thank you both. That's great. Great stuff. Really appreciate it. And it's stuff that, we interact with on a daily basis, especially on the PSE side of physical security equipment. So I can dive into this and talk about AI and next generation. We've got some exciting stuff. We're excited to be part of the panel. So thank you to SIW for the invite, and particularly on our first two guests. This is perfect warm-up for us. So I'm with PSG, Rick Gross. Been in this business since 1987 or so. PSG comes to this area of AI with a PL1 certified PSE, physical security equipment, which is intrusion, access, and video historically. Over the years, it's warped into a lot of cyber, and even more so today. So what I'll do here is I've got about 9 quick slides. I've highlighted them in yellow for the audience so that you can see the key bullets. I'll try not to read the slides. More importantly, we'll get to a spot where I can show you a real world application. PSG has been very successful in moving the needle in AI at the edge sensor, and we did it through the concept of zero trust. So in order to understand what we do, I've got to explain a little bit about zero trust, and there's a little bit of a primer here. You may not be too familiar. It's relatively new, although it's been out for a concept for the last 10 or 15 years, but it's only recently been developed into a real platform of use. So a ZTA primer here, just real quick, it's an executive order push. Executive order, the relevance there on White House Executive Order 14028, put out by the government in January of 2022, basically adopting and then mandating zero trust in the government agencies that is going to, of course, influence the critical infrastructure protection and other things. So that's why zero trust has now become mainstream, and it's why it's so important to what you're going to do in AI, and I'll explain that in a second. But the first and most important thing is, how do you get zero trust at the very edge, meaning the edge sensor, the edge camera, and the edge access control device? To that end, why is it important? I thought Gary and Cassie did a great job explaining this, so I don't need to spend too much time. Thank you guys very much for that. The spoofing, the hacking, the tampering, the deep fakes, all of this is real. Zero trust redefines the edge. And you can see what we're talking about there. The edge devices. It's funny, you can go to a trade show and ask any camera manufacturer, are you secure at the edge? And they'll go, yeah, our camera's encrypted at the edge. Historically, cameras were the edge sensor, known as the edge sensor. That's not the case anymore. Not in an AI world of deep fakes and hacking and tampering and spoofing and looping. It's a risk. So I'll share a little bit more on that in a minute. The key is, can we address modern threats? Partly to what John and Cassie were talking about. It's the AV side, the third bullet. Continuously monitor A to B, which really means it's play on the A to Z, right? It's authenticated and verified. In some cases, people call it validated. You got to have those two things in order to create a true zero trust environment. Once you do that, you now have a secure data coming from the edge that's been authenticated and verified at that moment in time. So if you don't learn anything else today, remember that A to V, authenticated and verified. That's what zero trust means. With that said, how do you use it with AI? Well, zero trust helps AI, and I have a use case I'll show you. In this particular case, on slide 5 here, the model, you trust nothing and you verify everything. ZTA mandates continuous verification of identities, devices, and data, regardless of their origin. That's true ZTA, and that's what the Executive Order 14028 implies and mandates. PSG adopted this concept about 10 years ago. We've spent roughly $20 million in R&D developing a true zero trust from edge sensor, not just at the camera's edge, which used to be the sensor, right? That was the edge of the camera. But what about the view itself? We've all seen Ocean's 11. Somebody holds up a picture. It doesn't preclude hacking or video loops, but you can spoof a camera. And how do you get into the scene, the air gap of the room? The idea is you've got to be able to secure that space in that room, in that air gap. That's zero trust for AI, for video. Now, you also need zero trust for intrusion and access, which is another play, and we've got a solution for that as well. But I'll focus more in this case on the video side of it. The key is the big picture. And if you looked at a typical system, whether it's a secure on-prem or off-prem storage, on the left side of this slide, you see zero trust data from all edges, whether it's sensors or readers. We have a ZTA concept for that, but we also have one for video. So we're talking mostly video today. I'll focus on that for you. But what we do is we provide an emitter that pumps encrypted data light into the room from an alternate location that protects the air gap space in the room. From there, the camera will read our software with an SDK, decrypt that signal for that room at that moment, at that camera, at that geolocation, if you will. You now know that room is secure and you're seeing a real-time view. That's true zero trust for video. Now, if you look at this slide and you go, well, zero trust data from all edges, from there, you move it up into what do you do with that data? You got to do something with it. You got to house it, warehouse it somewhere. In today's world, it's pretty much called a cyber secure data lake. In there is all that stored activity. Of course, for video, that's a lot of storage. That's a lot of activity. Whether you override it every 2 weeks or a month or 6 months, it's still going to be a lot of data. In some of these locations we protect, mostly big, large government facilities, you start moving in zero trust data, not just from the edge devices, but the remote feeds. Remote feeds for drones, UAS, and handhelds like an ATAC device. And that's a combination of both data and video. That's a lot of data, a lot of video, and a lot of storage. You dump it into a cyber secure data lake. From there, an operator, whether they're on-prem or off-prem, will use the GUI or the UI UX, whatever you want to call it, PSIM, CSIM, COP, C2, whatever, on-prem off. You store that data and you display as appropriate in real time. But historically, that data is stored in this location of this data lake. Well, that is a wealth of knowledge. To Cassie and Gary's comments, what do you do with all that data? You got to eventually do something with it, and you need to AI data mine it, right? The analysis of the edge data is key to this, i.e. how many yellow trucks went around the perimeter between 4 and 5 in the morning over the last 6 months for a duration of more than 10 minutes. They stopped at zones 5, 8, and 9. Well, why are they doing this, and why are they doing it once a week? And why is it always zone 5, 8, and 9? Well, you need some pretty sophisticated data scientists to be pulling out that AI data out of thousands of events over the last 2 months or 3 months, whatever the case may be. But that's where the beauty of this comes in. Now you can data mine in a use case A cyber secure data lake, meaning every single event has been authenticated and verified at real time at that geolocation. Second to none. That's how you zero trust. That's what zero trust means. So for our customers, we protect PL1N, priority level 1, nuclear assets, and a whole bunch of other things. Comment was made, geez, is there room for failure? Not really, not what we do. But it doesn't mean that there can't be operator error or user mistakes or an oversight. But with AI coming out, it's going to be harder and harder to have those kinds of events happen. More automation. If you pull AI data out of the data lake and you do this kind of analysis, what do you do next? Well, the whole idea is you got to respond to this event if it's an alarm event, or AI flags it as a potential breach. Depends on how you set that system up. But the modeling in SIM in today's world, sometimes called digital twins, there's a handful of those out there. These are advanced ConOps tools that give you either pathways of risk or how you might respond. Having cyber secure data in a zero trust architecture, which is ZTA, basically what you do is you can have a blue team response to a red team threat, and effectively, and this slide shows increased response team safety because they know where to go and they know it's real and they know what the mission is, and it increases the mission success. So in the world we're playing in today, it's becoming more and more, and that's carrying over into the CIP space, the critical infrastructure protection. And PSG is now pivoting our technology to play in this world. So you'll be seeing and hearing a whole lot more of us. In fact, we won a bunch of awards last year, courtesy of our relationship with industry, of course, with the FedGov, with the PL1N that we do, but also with industry players like SIW, who has seen our stuff, and we won multiple awards last year in this very space. And our focus is zero trust with AI. We're writing a number of white papers. You can see that at our website. This will give you the use case, and I'll show you. We won't spend any time on slide 7 because I know we're pressing up against the 1 o'clock deadline, but let's get to the video, and I'll ask John. John, do you mind playing a real world example?
Find the emitter. There it is, right there.
Okay, that video represents a specialized site location that is effectively a model of a real world situation, and that's deploying in daylight, and you can see the flashing white light. That's pumping encrypted light into the scene. The camera at that location is real time. That will give you an idea of what we're doing with video and AI in today's world. And of course, we're happy to help and answer any questions, and feel free to reach out as necessary. And again, thanks to the whole team for letting us be part of this effort.
All right. So I guess that means I'm back on, right, Rick?
Yes, sir. I hand it back to you.
Good. All right. Hey, guys, great. Really good stuff. Like I mentioned to Cassie and Gary, we could probably do 2 hours with them. And Rick, your solutions with the zero trust and how they apply to video, I just find fascinating. Really, with the gap security protocols and the rest of that is just very. It's definitely unique, and it's just really interesting stuff to talk about. Uh, we're over the hour, and we still got a pretty good crowd here with us. So we do have some questions that I'm going to go ahead and toss out to you. Uh, Gary, I think Cassie, I had to leave at top of the hour, but you're still here, correct?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. Well, we have. Let's do this question here. We've got a question from someone from Cargill, excuse me. So They ask, will standardization of video software and hardware become less important? Can AI replace the need for software and enable the use of any video stream to generate actions, events, data? Gary, you want to hit that first, and then Rick jump in after him?
Yeah. You know what? Okay. So video is obviously the most impactful data that we look at. I mean, I think the evolution of AI in video is going to impact the security industry the most. Um, I think that I think like Cassie was talking about large visual models being the standard for any kind of insights and gleaning insights for outcomes moving forward. And as that evolves, I see a lot more automation, more easy to deploy schemes, more opportunities at the practitioner's fingertips to conduct either dynamic or forensic investigations a lot more accurately, more quickly. So yes.
Okay. Rick, how does this tie into your technology solutions?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting question. Good one, Nathan. Or Nathaniel, excuse me. AI is really different bits and pieces of software. So for software from any other solution and integration and SDK, some sort of API, some sort of interface that allows you to integrate that the proper way. The real key, I hate to say this, is not the AI in that case. It's the data you're going to be doing the AI on, i.e., your cyber secure data lake or your databases. That's the key. We have this old saying, seeing is believing. Well, in today's world with deep fakes and everything else, I'm not so sure seeing is believing unless you have zero trusted data. Now, you can do that for video. We do it for IDS and access events. So I'm going to just respond to that. We'd love to talk and help with you more if you have questions about that in more detail. But there's a couple of probably answers to that question, and I'm not the software engineer that would be sorting that out, but I have a pretty good idea where they would go with this.
Right, right. And this is the next question. And I want to get this because Nancy was listening in Nairobi, Kenya. So I would feel remiss not to ask her question. It's a little off the beaten path here as far as what we're discussing, but nonetheless, Gary, she's asking, how do you protect organizations against insider trading uh, if they're using AI? She says we train our staff and we have them sign NDAs as a condition of employment, but still organizations are vulnerable. I mean, what's your take on her question?
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't thought about this. I read the questions like that's an interesting
Yeah, I
question.
thought
So
so.
yeah, so if I'm understanding the question correctly, it's um, really it's protecting the organization against insider trading, and they want to leverage AI to help them do that. Is that the way you read it as well? Steve?
That's what I'm thinking she's asking.
Okay. You know what? Multimodal AI. If you look at data from the network, data from the access control system, data from the video system, and audio data, and then you combine that with, let's say, managed detection and response, right? And you see a large amount of data being exfiltrated from any particular machine or unusual data being accessed. And this is assuming that you've got all the essentials of your cybersecurity program down pat with everything necessary there. I would imagine that given the proper partner delivering the use case to somebody that has the ability to write software for it, they could probably do it. It seems like a pretty heavy lift, but I would say there's probably a lot of cybersecurity processes and policies that could be implemented that would mitigate much of that.
We get time for one more question. I'm gonna throw this out to both of you. And the question is how can enterprises measure the return on investment of AI-driven video surveillance by assessing improvements in incident detection, response times, and overall security outcomes. So basically, if you're going to implement AI-driven video, what what's the ROI going to be, and how can you prove it?
Yeah, I can start with that. I think you got to build in KPIs. You know, you've got to understand how long it takes to do something, what kind of manpower it takes to do something, what you want the outcome to be, how quickly you want it to outcome, and then you have to see what the value of introducing AI is for you. You can also look at leveraging your security apparatus for OT efficiencies, you know, and seeing what value it brings there. I think measuring it once you develop a program to use AI, you have to also develop the tools and the KPIs to measure the efficiency and the effectiveness.
Rick, you got a comment?
Yeah, I would agree. Of course, with what John said there, I think it's for us, it's adoption by the market. You know, we're rolling out, you know, $20 million worth of R&D here, and market adoption is key and critical as to whether they think or see the benefits. And what we're doing with the support of Executive Order 14028 and others, it's just a matter of time. You can't afford to have not running. The best question I've heard was, why in the world would you run AI on a non-zero trusted database? Bad data in equals bad data out. And
right.
You know, that's kind of a key metric right there, right? If you're going to respond with a digital twin with scenarios with guard force, you certainly don't want them running to the wrong location. And right. That's kind of the bottom line for, you know, bad data into AI is going to be bad data out. So catch it before it gets to AI so that AI analysis is real.
Very good. All right, guys, we're going to have to wrap it up there. Gary, I just want to let you and Cassia know that when you are doing your security discussion dinner and inviting Rick and I over, Rick will bring the salad, I'll bring dessert. So we're ready to rock and roll with you here. So,
oh, man, anytime, you're welcome.
All right. Well, again, I want to thank everybody who attended. We had a good crowd today. Our speakers knocked it out of the park. Cassia, Gary, great tag team effort. Rick, it's always a pleasure to listen to you. I learn something every time you explain your applications and use cases involving your technology and solutions. So thank you. And I want to thank our sponsors. Let's thank Rick and Prometheus, OpenEye, and iPro. Following today's presentation, the webinar will be archived on our site for 6 months. It will also be in on our YouTube channel. So go to YouTube. You can Google this topic and find it on the Security InfoWatch YouTube, SIW YouTube channel. So it will be there forever, more than the 6 months we're archiving it. But you'll receive an email notification once that's occurred. To access more webinars, you can go to www.SecurityInfoWatch.com/webinars. I also invite you all to join us for our next webinar, which is scheduled for February 5th at 1 o'clock Eastern. That topic will be technology and management trends in healthcare safety and security. As healthcare landscapes become increasingly complex, security and security leaders face rising challenges in protecting patient, staff, facilities, and sensitive data. In this webinar, we're going to explore how cutting-edge technologies, integrated solutions, and strategic management practices can enhance healthcare security and safety and mitigate evolving risks. I want you to, you'll be able to join Ben Scaglione from a independent consultant. We will also be joined by speaker will be Anjanette Hebert, and she works with PAL American Security. So Ben and Anjanette will be with us. And then also we will be joined by our sponsor, Hannah Beckett from Genetech. So see everybody on the 5th. Again, have a great week, and we look forward to seeing everybody back. Be safe and enjoy your week.